Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis.
And I'm the disembodied voice.
And this is No Capes, where I talk about comic books and don't have to do superheroes, and or Ethan doesn't read them, or doesn't review them along with me. I really need to change that at some point.
Yeah, you do.
Because the reality is, Ethan's like a year behind on reading comics almost at this point. So, yeah, this is for books for the week of January 8th. That's the second week of January.
That's what you said.
Yeah, 2014. If the date matters. Anyway, we're going to talk some books. Ape Sapien, issue number 9.
Yeah.
I really like this book. There was a point where I was like, ooh, starting to feel like I wasn't sure if we needed an Ape Sapien book. It's really gotten interesting again, though. You know, we've got this long-term story arc of somebody that's hunting down Abe because he feels like Abe is the new power. The guy used to think that Hell was the power source. Hell's kind of cut him off. He's talking about, so Abe must be what the new power source is because of what all's going on in the Hellboy universe. So that's kind of an interesting aspect that they keep touching on enough that's really starting to wet my whistle as far as that goes. Otherwise, what's so funny?
Nothing, keep going.
Otherwise, it's basically Abe kind of wandering across the countryside, running into whatever crap happens to be out there, kind of a thing, really. He's in this kind of new town that's trying to keep itself together. There's these horses that kind of died and kind of grew spores on them of sorts, and the spores actually have little gelatin-like eggs in them. So having to deal with...
He's there to help them.
Burn that up and whatnot. You got these kids living on a golf course, look like a nice commune of sorts and whatnot. But then, of course, we see them off in the distance, like eating people, I think.
Yeah, they're weird. And I could be wrong about what they're pouring, but it looks like it says citronella that they're pouring into their soup.
And what is citronella?
Citronella is the chemical they make candles and stuff out of to keep mosquitoes from... bothering you.
So they're putting DDT
it's not,
in their
pesticide. I should look that up a little bit better. And maybe that's just the brand, but it just feels like. Plus, he's breaking up a skull, and because he still looks like a nice, normal kid at that point.
Right.
I think is that a sugar skull?
Even though they're cannibals.
Yeah, or something. Anyway, and he has encountered a car. That has been part of a wreck, and they don't have any report of it.
But the body's been drug off.
Exactly.
It's because they're in the soup.
Yeah, I think so.
Their dinner.
Because it's the...
Dinner on the golf course.
The logo that's on the car, or in the car, one of them is wearing a hat or something with that logo. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
I just remember seeing it on their persons. But yes, at the end, they turn out to... They have some kind of glamour going on them because they turn out to be these morbid, zombie, gross beings.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out.
All kinds of crazy.
And they're trying to burn they're digging a trench so that they can do a controlled burn of these spores that are left in the horse corpses. And one of them gets the stuff on him, and Abe tells them to go and wash it off and disinfect himself or whatever. And the guy gets all cranky and throws a shovel at him and tells him to dig the trench himself. Some sort of
Frogman.
That's what it was. It was like some kind of, not racist, but, anti-Ape Sapien epithet.
Frogman.
And so we'll just see where that goes. They do manage to start the burn. So they got napalm. Napalm fixes everything.
That's right. Get a little styrofoam and some soap and some water and have a good old time with some napalm.
Okay.
Never done that?
No, actually.
Need to live. So next we're going to talk about FPB, Federal Bureau of Physics.
Loved this one.
Better known as Collider, issue 7.
Loved it.
Yeah?
Yes.
What about it?
Well, because they've got the kind of odd character Reyes, and she's accidentally gotten sucked into being with these kind of bad guys because she visited them, and it appeared to her that the woman was being abused by this asshole guy. And that was all kind of a bit of a setup because when she gets called back because she gives the lady her card. She gets called back, and it
So
turns out,
she thinks she's going to rescue this woman from domestic violence. Is what
but they've killed the guy that the jerk guy.
Yeah.
Since then, and it turns out that they have a wormhole maker, and they are conning her into helping them run it.
Conning her? They're not conning her.
Yeah, they are. It's not a con.
Not con.
But she doesn't have a family.
It's blackmail.
So she says, hey, I don't have a family.
Extortion.
But they call the first phone number that they find with her name, and unfortunately for her, there's a little girl there.
Yeah.
And so they say, we're going to kill her.
We're gonna go and kill everybody in that house if you don't
help
out.
us.
Okay,
Even
so
though
she's
you don't
gonna
have
help
a
out.
family. So she's helping. But then she gets them back before they manage to actually do anything dangerous.
Okay, and for me, here's the really interesting part: is the fact is, okay, so this character, she's a little bit socially awkward,
Weird,
retarded,
right, and
or whatever.
Kind of not retarded.
Well,
but
so
they
we
think
find
she's
out
weird.
why. Partially is why is she lost 10 years.
Right,
She
disappeared
but back in the day,
some physics
she got
wormhole.
one of the physics wormholes that happened up actually sucked her and her mom up, and then months and months later, 6 months later, she pops back out of the wormhole. She's dumped out basically kind of around in her neighborhood, except she's
an adult.
aged. She's aged. She's an adult. She was a
Yeah.
little girl, and she's aged to an adult. So that's got to just be
Right, so she's missing. Those
Well, I don't know
years
if she's
of
missing it or not.
development, or we don't really know what's happened to her.
I mean, we
completely.
assume she lived while she was in there.
Right, but we don't know quite what happened to her.
So really interesting.
And she is fascinating because this lady is telling her the bad guy lady is telling her that they're really not that much different. They're a lot alike. They have a lot in common. I'm not quite sure what else she's implying, but she's saying that they haven't. And at the end, when they're viciously sending she and the man that she has used the wormhole to break out of prison, they send them into an endless loop.
Right. Well, they're being taken apart and put back together again.
Over and over and over again forever.
Yeah.
And just before she does that, she says, I'm nothing like you.
Right.
By the way. And what they do is they tip off the people, and they tip off the authorities enough so that they do go to kill the family in the house, and they meet them there and capture them that way.
Yeah.
It's
It was
very,
good.
It's very clever and very good.
And basically...
And a bonding experience
Right.
between she and her new partner.
Other partners.
Partners, right, but mainly partner who wants to, who...
And they name her Rain Man.
No, Rain Woman. They say that's
Rain
what
Woman.
they've been calling her this
Oh,
whole
right.
time. Because she asks if they have some kind of nickname
Nickname,
for
right.
her that she doesn't know about.
Right.
And so he tells her at the end. Then what's this with the person photographing the other guy's dad? I don't remember that, so I don't know what that's all about. A recording or whatever.
The person that Adam, isn't his name Adam? Our main
remember.
character, he's kind of, was sleeping with this woman, and that woman got him the information. That guy that he's talking about having the picture of and stuff took all of his dad's work. So he's, when the last arcs, they were talking about how some of his father's notebooks are missing, and he suspects it was this one aide that took them, and he wants his books. He wants his father's books. He wants his father's manuscripts to know what was going on. I'm sure he thinks there's something in there.
Right.
Now he's in a position to be able to use that stuff to find out what happened to his father and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yes, I remember that now.
So this woman was helping getting him the information that he needed to track down this dude.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now that we've told the whole story to everybody.
Yep, nobody needs to read that comic now.
Great
Except
stuff.
It was really good.
Yeah, it's a good comic. Good comic. Really enjoy
It
it.
was way better than the way I told it.
I would hope so. Fatale issue number 19. Kick me.
The disembodied voice.
Kick
is
me.
gonna grow some legs.
Suddenly she has a body. Fatale issue number 19. Final issue of Our Youth.
Yeah, the end of the grunge era.
End of the grunge era. At any rate, I really, really love this book. I love Josephine. I mean, that whole aspect is really interesting. What was terrifying about this book is basically ultimately when we get to the end of it. So just to kind of truncate it down, our cop who's been obsessed with Josephine since he was 8 runs into her, obviously again, figures out that she's around. She tortures a bunch of dudes, hangs this one guy up in this magic ritual to try and bring her back.
She doesn't.
By coincidence, she happens to show back up at the place because she needs to clear up, she's to erase some tapes and stuff. So this dude thinks that he's somehow summoned her. She finishes him off, and saves the guy that was hung up in the magic ritual.
Which is good because this guy actually turned into a
Well,
killer.
we find out that the guy that was hung up is this guy that's been helping our main character from the beginning of the show, helping him hide and kind of run from the law and maybe run into Josephine again. You find out he's that guy. And what's he going to do? He's going to hang the main character upside down in this weird ritual because he thinks he's finally got it figured out now.
Josephine.
It's going to call Josephine. He's been practicing for years. So he's been butchering people for years, and it's not worked. But it's not a real spell. It's not really anything. It's just pure coincidence. But he's kind of associated with that. So I don't know what's going to happen now.
Yeah, me neither.
You know, the thing's got 5 issues and it's done. Ends at issue 24. It's just such a train wreck. It's so...
You know, the first arc I didn't like that much.
Right.
The various past lives ones were really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been, well, maybe because it does take place in, I don't know, because they're a grunge band.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right.
I really liked it, this one.
But yeah, it's
except for I feel really sorry for that band.
It's such a painful train wreck. The book, all of it is, always is. Every single issue is just kind of just a traffic wreck.
And she can never really, doesn't appear that she can really, she might be able to be destroyed, but it doesn't appear that she can really die.
Right.
So
yeah, they burnt her at the stake at one point.
I feel sorry for her.
Yeah, it's...
What a crappy thing to try and keep yourself from destroying every man that you meet.
Yeah.
Not very successfully.
No.
In the case of this arc.
No, but
she had amnesia, so we have Pedersen's left.
Right, but really good, really
yes.
good, really cool. They haven't been picking them back up. I'd say pick up a couple trades. I think they're interesting to read. They're a different kind of a thing. Speaking of fun, next up is 5 Ghost issue number 8. I don't know that particularly a whole lot happens in this.
Yeah, this is
basically
more of a,
they steal a boat.
Story moving issue, you know, where they're getting ready to move into the media part of the story, and it's just a...
Right. So, like I said, the whole issue is they steal a boat. What makes it fun is the action sequences and them kind of the way they show him flipping between the 5 ghosts that possess him. That's what makes it cool. Not a depthy book, but I think lots of fun. It's just a fun read because it's just a kind of fun romp, old school kind of a thing. Yeah. And for what it is, I love it for that. You know what to say about it?
No, well, I like the girl too.
The thief?
Yes. I think she might be bad news at some point, but I like her.
She's a thief.
Exactly.
That pretty much sums it up right there. At some point, you're going to get theft. Hintergine, issue number 4. You tell me about this because I got 3 pages in and I quit reading it. Seriously. I'm dropping the book, so this is why. I got so far. I'm dropping the book. I'm not that interested in it, and I feel like the art is just continuing to get slimmed down and simpler and simpler and simpler. It doesn't got a lot more anyplace else to go.
Well, in this particular version, they get kidnapped. They've been kidnapped by these patchwork.
They didn't get kidnapped. They got captured after they shot one of the patchwork dudes in the face the last issue.
Right. And the girl that the blonde lady with the ponytail gets assassinated. Not assassinated, but executed for that crime. Well. But anyway, so they're with the patchwork people, and the patchwork people tell them that they lived in the bunker after this whole event happened.
Bunker 101.
Is it seriously Bunker 101?
No
I don't
idea.
think so. That would actually be cool, and there's not much about this story that is not just kind of... I would like to get back to the Queen, because she was actually interesting, but I don't think it's going to happen for a while, and you're going to be collecting it, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, what happened is they got hold of some bit of the stuff that was the fairy essence stuff, I guess.
Pixie dust.
Whatever, I can't remember. And they thought in tests that it had restorative properties. Mm. And that, you know, it was going to make them immune and able to survive outside. Mm-hmm. And so they rushed the test, they injected themselves with it, and oops, it deteriorates and burns out their skin. So they are stealing people and, you know, grafting their skin. However, because they have some people who are truly immune, they have just captured these people and they appear to be immune. Their intention is to save themselves with
their blood.
Mm-hmm. But then bad things happen, our normal world happens, and they escape.
You don't remember what all happened?
No.
Okay.
Was that good? I really am not very interested in the book either. But the kid uses his tail to stab the guy in the back. The kid that has the prehensile tail.
Oh, those people captured by the other fairy monster dudes?
Yeah, they're there too,
the gangsters?
And so, yeah, he uses his tail to attack the gentleman and then to free everyone, to undo the buckles.
Huzzah!
And, what's his name? Grandpa shows up. Too. So they're all together again. Woohoo! Whatever. Next.
Drop me that book. Did not do what I wanted to do. Okay, next up, letter 44. This is issue number 3. Wasn't really excited as I was reading this book. As I'm reading, I'm kind of thinking, you know what? This is not going really where I want it to go. I'm really not liking this book.
Getting tired of because having sex in space and...
Well, that part's okay.
Whatever they're doing in
sex
space.
In space, come on.
Yeah, okay, I forgot.
But basically the whole presidency is just this kind of mirror image of what Obama's doing, with them in the background going, oh, we have to keep doing this because of whatever, and it just felt like blah, 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 blah. It just felt like they were cheaply not writing anything other than just literally taking from the headlines kind of a thing. And it was like...
all these things that you wanted to do you couldn't do because, maybe aliens.
Right. It isn't until the very end. I mean, the space stuff I'm curious about, but there really wasn't a whole lot of space stuff to be curious about this time. It's more just starting to show that there are cracks in the... Come on, there's only 7 of us, or however many there are of us in this spaceship, and
it's the real world space edition, essentially.
Right. But it isn't until the very end that now stuff's going to, I think, potentially get interesting with the political end of it, because we the chief of staff is kind of basically pushing the president into, look, we should get out in front of this. We should just tell people this is what's happened. He goes to the military and says, you know, okay, you've given me this battle plan of what the consequences.
Give us a worst and best case scenario of what will happen if we tell the public.
And of course, the scenario they give is totally apocalyptic.
The world ends. The stuff.
You know, because we all freak out knowing there's aliens out there. They're going to kill us.
Maybe.
Well, no, not maybe. That's their spin on it.
Yeah.
And the chief of staff's like, look, I think you already went into this with a foregone conclusion. How about you run this scenario again with us selling it as hope and change and all that kind of stuff? How about you sell it as, look, there's this wonderful thing that could be out there. They're explorers to blah, 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 and see if we get a different kind of a buy-in on all this stuff and whatnot. And the guy basically asks, is this an order? And the guy goes, no, it's not an order, but if I'm saying it, that means it's coming straight from the lips of the president. And the guy goes, I'll get on it as soon as possible. And then we get this scenario of him in a restaurant and some tourist. That's the part that was interesting.
He seems like a really bland tourist.
Some tourist meets him in the bathroom and stabs him in the freaking neck with some nasty poison or whatever. And
he's dead.
He's laying on the floor with his tongue curled back in his head, his eyes bulging out of his head, and his fingers curled back like he's had some horrific stroke or something. So...
And then he goes back to the table and says,
business
hey, let's go to the Postal Museum.
Let's go to the Postal Museum.
So he's making his, no offense to the Postal Museum, but he's making his kids do a lot of things that they find horribly boring.
Yeah.
And yet he's slipping off to the bathroom.
He's an assassin. He's a government assassin, we assume.
Yeah, and kills that guy.
So that might make it interesting. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's all.
I like it. I mean, I like it now. By the end of it. When I was reading the beginning of it, I was like, was thinking that's not too excited by that. Manifest Destiny.
That is still just so much fun.
Issue number 3.
It's just fun. It's creepy, but it's fun.
Plant zombies. Got plant zombies going on. Plant zombies going on. The end of it, we have Sacagawea whacking minotaurs.
We know that
they're
there to pick up a girl that they need for their mission.
Sacagawea.
And they're like, well, let's just get out of here. How much can she, how much do you really need?
Oh, little girl. What is a little girl going to do to help us? And of course, the last scene is her.
It's how is she going to survive out there? Because he says she's an innocent child, and I'm not leaving any innocent child here.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, she's just a child, so how in the heck is she going to?
And she's kamikazing out of a tree with a spear onto the whole camp worth of the buffalo centaur people.
Wearing leather wings, so it's like almost like a fairy.
Either it's wings or it's a cape. I don't know. I haven't decided which it is.
It's cool. So. I can't wait to see what's next.
And the whole zombie thing's pretty frightening too. The plant zombie people are walking at them. They shoot their guns off. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't work.
Knives!
And so they can pull out knives, they start chopping them to pieces, and they look down at the pieces are crawling around, the blood's reconstituting, like, okay,
fire!
Fire, yeah, let's go fire. You know, so.
And that's fun. And then they meet some people who are the leftover survivors, and you find out that this is some kind of vegetational virus.
They don't know where they picked up, but.
That the plant is eating them from the inside out. They do I liked that. When they went to do the autopsy and they kind of skin open, and underneath the skin it's all plant matter.
Mm-hmm. A bunch of sprouts.
Yeah, I thought that was
sprouts.
Okay, thanks. If you enjoyed sprouts, you probably will never eat them again.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, yeah, enjoying the heck
out
of this book.
Fun. Love the art.
It's
The
really
art's
fun.
just kind of really It almost has a old school. Classic illustrated look to
Exactly.
it because their noses and their cheeks are kind of ruddy. They have that kind of ruddy look to it that is indicative of some of that kind of classic illustrated art. So it's kind of fun there.
Yeah, it is. It's really fun.
Sex Criminals issue number
Mania
4.
Fun. Entirely different kind of fun in that book.
It's hilarious.
It is so funny.
It's hilarious.
And our hero and heroine are kind of in trouble.
Kind of in trouble. They're getting their ass beat by other people who can go into the quiet.
They're getting dragged off to sex criminal.
Well, they don't know where they're getting dragged off to.
Whatever.
I mean, I love that. That's one of the things that's fun about it is the fact is this whole imaginary. I can just see her, being this, the head honcho of them is some soccer mom, and they have this secret base in the quiet. Which I want to know how they maintain a secret base in the quiet.
They have to have lots of people
having lots of fun, I guess. It'd be exhausting. Anyway, but
well, they probably do it in rounds.
You think so? Okay, it's organized.
It shifts.
Okay, but it's just. I mean, the whole thing's funny. I mean, them having having sex in the different places because of course they can't. Nothing works in the quiet, so it's not like they can have sex and then drive their car to the bank
so
or whatever.
Have to, like in an alley.
Or be close to it or not, so there's all that craziness.
Because they're slowly skimming from all these different things. But now they're showing us how they got to.
And they're testing their tests where they mess with the porn store by shifting everything all over the place. All that stuff is hilarious. And of course they get engaged with the sex police, basically, I don't know what you call them. The quiet police. And
they get tased.
But it's not just that it's like they're normal people. They find out they're normal people. It's like she wrestles that one guy and pulls out his hat, and he's a bus driver. He's got a bus driver hat. It's like, what the heck?
Yes, I do remember that part.
One of my favorite parts though is the roommate has slowly been kind of putting pieces together.
Right.
And so she's just calling up the cops, and she goes, I don't know who I'm supposed to report this to. But I think my friend's new boyfriend is they're
convincing her to have
sex in public and rob a bank.
And now they're planning on robbing a bank. And of course, the person who gets that call is a receptionist of a police department.
She's the receptionist who is the head honcho of this whatever these superheroes that they are, whatever the heck they are.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with them now that they've caught them.
And right?
It's hilarious. If you're
and don't skip the first page because it's funny.
The intro, yeah. Obviously, if you don't like large conversations about sexuality and sex and that sort of stuff, not the book for you. If you're somebody who can laugh at all of that kind of ridiculousness and whatnot, I think it's a really funny book. It's not. There are parts of it that are juvenile, humor, but not all of it is that. It's actually there is a story there. There is some sophistication. It just depends on who the story.
And they do have noble intentions.
Right.
They are stealing from the bank to save the library.
Save the library. It's just fun. It's just fun. And like I said, it's not just one giant equivalent of a blowjob joke. I mean, there's more to it than that.
No, it's actually.
So it's cool.
Yep.
Next up, speaking of porn, is Shaolin Cowboy issue number 4.
And it's everything that Sex Criminals isn't. In that you're just saying it's not just one long blowjob joke. This is endless Shaolin Cowboy killing zombies. That is all that happens until the very end.
Hopefully, when I upload this video, I'll put a link to another guy who does kind of a talks about this.
Because I think he had a very
talks about this point, and he wants to know if Darrow trolled all of his fans with this book, with this 4-issue miniseries. Did he troll us all with this be one giant kill scene, with the exception of the very end Oh no, I was kind of shocked at the very end.
The end made sense to me because of what it is.
Then he gets shot.
Well,
he gets sniped after all of that.
But then frog.
Yeah. And the frog that was at the very beginning hops back up on the rock.
Exactly, but I feel like he's somehow embodied the frog now because, you know, Shaolins are Buddhists and they believe in reincarnation. I mean, not that that's a reincarnation.
He did come out of the ground.
Yeah. So I just feel like frog, that's him again.
Yeah.
And that is the only part of the book I actually liked because it's a whole.
I thought it was awesome.
Stupid.
I thought it was awesome. Disembodied Voice did not like it.
No, I just thought.
I thought it was awesome. I thought the art was great in it.
The art is excellent.
Issue 2, I'm reading it and I'm going, somebody's really pulling a joke over on us. I mean, this is just crazy. By the end of issue 3, I'm laughing along with it because it's just, okay, that's funny. Do I want a whole bunch more of this? No.
No.
If another miniseries comes out 2 or 3 years from now, I'll probably get it.
You'll get the first one.
If a month from now they start this back up again, don't know that I would get it. Because I don't know if I can spend that kind of money on it for that much, but it was fun. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous.
I agree with you on the ridiculous part.
Yeah, I know. I know. The height of literature, right there.
Right, with like 4 words spoken per issue.
And there was the constant.
Well, not this
the onomatopoeia. Is that what that is? Is that what that is? Isn't the sound effect? Isn't a sound effect onomatopoeia? Come on! Disembodied Voice in your English degree.
I know I have an English degree, but I always have a hard time with that one.
God, us uneducated people know more. Okay, so issue number 3 or 4.
4 of 3.
Of 3, yes.
Kind of confusing.
What do you think?
I like this book. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but I did.
First issue was dry.
Yeah.
Way too historical.
And I'm not reading all the historical back matter, and I probably should be. But the idea that the Spartans had the helots or helots or however they're said, that the servant class. And so for each one of them there was a servant carrying their shield, and you know, so
right.
the 300 was really 6 or 9.
What do you think about this issue?
Oh, whatever.
As opposed to the whole story.
I haven't gotten to talk about the whole story until now, so sorry. But I'll be quiet about that. Quit rolling your eyes at me. This might be the Disembodied Voices last No Games. No, I really liked it. I really dislike the
snotty rich prince boy that's been disowned.
Yes, I can't stand him.
Been de-Spartaned.
And so, if anything good might happen out of this, it was that battle. Even though they sacrificed one of their own, he sacrificed
gets gutted.
himself.
Actually, gets drove through the eyes.
Yay!
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
That was the best part. No, actually, I like the 3 helots. I like the butcher and the fact that he keeps insisting he's a butcher, but obviously he's got way more martial training than your average butcher. And I think that the explanation that the blonde helot comes up with, that, you know, they hired all these people, kind of, I mean, they forced all these helots to be warriors, and then they slaughtered all of the warriors.
Well, yeah, the situation it was one of those times when they were in one of those really desperate places, and the Heliots helped fight, and there were like 3,000 Heliots, and those Heliots basically are the ones that defeated their enemies. And everybody was rejoicing and everything, and the Spartans, because the Spartans are
promised them that they were going to be freed.
The Spartans are the minority, so they said, all you people who fought bravely, if you want to be free, come forward and we'll free you. And of course, everybody came forward.
Have a big celebration.
Everybody
Everybody
who came forward, they slaughtered, because they don't obviously want the people around who could potentially threaten their existence. So, and we figure the butcher is one of those guys who's smart enough to realize, you know what, if I expose myself, I'm going to be a dead man, so I'm just going to stay quiet.
And he pretended to be injured. I mean, he had a limp or something at the beginning.
Yeah. He was crippled.
Yeah. Not really, as it turns out.
No. It's interesting. It's an interesting book. I'm enjoying it. I don't know if it's like super gripping. It's really interesting. I'm a huge fan of Ryan Kelly's artwork. I like his style.
Oh, me too.
I think he does a really good job of portraying emotions and feelings, regardless of dialogue. It does not matter. You could look at the pictures and get a sense of who's upset, who's not upset. kind of what's
spoiled prick.
Yeah, kind of what's going on throughout the whole thing. So great for that. I have no idea how long this book is supposed to go on. Somewhere in my head I thought it was 3 issues long, but obviously it's longer than that. I don't know if it's going to go past the next issue though, because they're in a serious pickle, because basically 300 Spartans have shown up to kill him. And only one guy's got armor and a weapon. One guy's bleeding out, and the woman, maybe she has a sword.
Yeah.
So they're pretty well screwed.
So, but he's wearing the armor, and so I'm wondering,
it's good armor,
do they know it's him?
Well, he's calling him out. At the very end, he's going, "Come on,
come forward." I know, but does that necessarily mean that they know it's him?
Well, maybe they don't, but I can't imagine
he's
that they're
wearing spoiled boy prince's armor.
Who they disowned. Who they they chopped his beard up and kicked him out the door.
Yeah.
You know, to disown him as being no longer a Spartan, because he was he ran away as opposed to fighting to his death. So.
Well, I guess we'll just see what happens. But it's been really interesting, and I appreciate Kieran Gillen's interest in that time in history.
Right. Right.
And maybe at the end, I will read the back matter of all of them before you file them away.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's it for this week.
Thanks for listening.